People of the world, welcome to the 250th episode of Marketing as a Foreign Language. Our guest today just became a grandma and she got someone off a death row. Yeah, you're going to want to stick around. But before that, a quick overview of the news of the day. Did you know that Twitter debuts subscriptions to super users in new revenue push? You've heard me say it before. I think Twitter is largely a dumpster fire, a hot mess, a garbage wasteland of wasting time. Twitter Inc., according to Bloomberg.com, unveiled its long-awaited subscription service offering paying customers exclusive features for rescinding tweets and organizing posts as part of a push to ease the social network's dependence on advertising revenue. I feel like these sorts of things are just money grabs. I feel like the internet, which used to be free, is no longer free. I feel like you can't buy anything in 2021 without paying a monthly fee. It's incredibly annoying. And so at the end of the day, I am not bullish on Twitter. I'm not bullish on their super follows, and I'm not bullish on Twitter Blue, the new product that's $2.99, of course, a month for access to tools, including the ability to undo a post before it goes up publicly, organize bookmark tweets into folders, blah, 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 stupid. Google's $99 Pixel Buds A series are now available. Do you want to spend $99 on something that's smaller than a dime? Apparently, these A buds are, I don't know, better than typical headphones. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. Podcasts start coming to Facebook next week. Facebook is pushing. Facebook has dating. Dating. Facebook, according to TheVerge.com, is planning to start rolling out its podcast product next week on June 20. Wow, this is an old article. According to an email sent to, no, it's not, on June 22nd, and eventually add a feature that'll allow listeners to create clips from their favorite shows. So podcasters, including myself, may want to check out what Facebook is going to be doing on that front. Clearly, iTunes, Spotify are dominant in the space now. And last but not least, Facebook launches ads globally for Instagram Reels. Reels have been a big deal in Instagram lately. You all know that I started doing TikTok, and TikTok has been an incredible place to get views where you typically wouldn't from Instagram. It is not surprising to me that Facebook is launching ads globally for Reels in specific, because Reels are essentially Instagram's counterbalance to the massive growth of TikTok. Did you know that in the early days of the internet, Jimmy Dennis was on death row, and the only person that could save his life, there was just one person. Okay, fine. It was a collection of people. But in my mind, it's just one singular person who did an incredible amount of work to get this man off of death row. Can you imagine communicating with someone who's just writing you letters? You're using the internet as a tool. You can find, doing this, pro bono lawyers who are like incredible, super expensive lawyers willing to do pro bono work for this person on death row. Get that person off of death row using an elaborate series of maneuvers and relationships and this and that and and then not just drop off the face of the earth. Have a relationship with this person and then help them grow their music career. Yes, it's stranger than fiction. It's true. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. The new grandma, the Saint Tracy Lamourie.
Oh my God. Stop. Okay, stop. Number one, definitely not a saint.
Too much.
Maybe more saint. What's that song? The song that goes, don't come in, I've been a sinner all life, I don't try to hide my sins, like to keep them in the light, or whatever that song lyric is. But anyway,
Okay.
also, I definitely was one person. Even it was me and even on our side, it was me and my husband, Dave Parkinson, that found, heard about Jimmy when nobody was talking about him, and he had literally paid $20 or something for somebody to type up something in a little corner of the internet begging for help. And we saw that early days of the internet. And yeah, we'd had a radio show in the past. We didn't anymore. We would just, and it certainly wasn't that. We were just entry-level salespeople in our 20s, just literally just got married. We didn't have anything. We didn't have any money. We didn't need help free some guy from Dow, but we did. We tried. We for some reason we wrote a letter to him to say, hey, gee, how innocent can this guy be? What's this all about? And I think because we'd had the radio show a few years before, we were still in that like information gathering mindset. So, but then when he wrote us back, I don't know what we thought when we were writing the letter, what we thought we're getting into. But when he wrote us back, it says a 28-page letter written on both sides with all this detail that was disturbing, like factually, he was factually innocent. And laid saw every single court record and boxes of documents, and proved the point further. But even when the 8-page letter and the documentation that he sent, we were like, oh my God, this is for. And then what do we do with that? Do we just say like, oh, that's, that was a great read? But somebody literally, you know what I mean, put their hours of their time and their hope and everything and send that to us as a light at the end of the tunnel. So now we have to do something, even though we don't think there's anything we can do. So my husband says, well, I guess let's make a website. And we were so naive at it. This is 1998. We didn't even think, oh, is it okay to put that online? Luckily it was, all the legal stuff. And he made a website. I learned how to write a press release, literally on the Alta Vista for immediate release, and I learned. And that was, however many years ago now. It took 11 years from then until I, thought about doing it as a publicist for a living and developed a career that's all these nice bells and whistles that introduced me to use marketing side of things. But yeah, it's a crazy story that just, and also there were other people. It was me and my husband that started that once we made the website. Other people got involved, which is what we hoped. We made the website because we had no way to help. So we were hoping that other people with money would help or lawyers would get involved. And that was sort of like a unicorn dream. Anybody would have told us that was naive, but actually that's what happened. So 2 years after we started making that kind of noise, a law firm out of Washington they are a high powered law firm in not just in criminal justice, but in some of the biggest names, corporate companies in America and everything. And they decided, for whatever reason, 20 years ago, they wanted to do something, pro bono. And they were looking for a case of a factually innocent man somewhere in
Yeah.
America. They were
So
looking for that.
if
The noise we
you
made.
yeah,
Yeah, to
if you
continue.
want the full story, go check out the first episode we did with Tracy Lamourie. This is episode number 2. As y'all know, we're all about the episodic adventure, getting to know someone over time. So I have told multiple people about that story. I continue to be impressed by it. And I find it interesting that now, backstage, you mentioned to me that you've got a bunch of clients. You've got like 4 or 5 new clients. It's not surprising to me. I see a connection between those two things. That story about getting someone off of death row, how inspiring that is. It makes you someone that people are going to want to work with because it shows so much tenacity. It shows so much grit, that entrepreneurial spirit, and ultimately achieving a goal. If he hadn't gotten off a death row, I mean, people would look at it much differently. But the fact that he got off is just, it's truly astounding. So let's talk about some of these new clients. Who are they, and what are you doing for them?
So I have clients right across the board, and I don't know if we talked about it last time. We mentioned the entrepreneur thing that people are sometimes you hear publicists, so you think of celebrities, which I also work with, and you think of people in the public eye, right? You think of filmmakers and authors and all that. And so that's about half of my business. And the other half, and what is increasingly a really fun part, is entrepreneurs and startups, which wouldn't have thought that'd be as fun as the celebrities and the VIP parties, but it really is, because you're literally it's the same as the creative side, where you're helping people build their dreams and build their profile. Same thing with their entrepreneur, but they've got the entrepreneurial spirit. They've got a drive like I did. They're building something. And the startups can be, innovative, crazy ideas, or innovative, just not crazy, you know what I mean? So it's fun. There's a lot of action there. So I work with everybody, from luxury real estate agents to personal chefs to hairstylists. And one of my recent clients, for example, a great example, we only started working together a few weeks ago. His name is Danny Toma. He's a acclaimed hairstylist, like, super stylist, like he's like Hollywood, right? Only he was in Saskatchewan in Canada. Born in Baghdad, lived in Istanbul, trained, won all kinds of awards for his work, but he's on the street in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And so when I saw his presentation, his huge Instagram with all the followers, I mean, all that stuff, I was like, whoa, dude, you gotta be punching way above. You're not thinking big enough. I have clients, that people that are in hair, like a loctician client, Karen Wallington. Loctician means expert in dreadlocks, right? Locks. And she's flown across the world. She doesn't take new clients. She's flown across the world to either speak, teach, or to do celebrity hair. And that's what I was saying, for him. And at first he was picturing, well, shouldn't I be in the paper in Saskatoon? I'm like, yeah, sure, that's going to happen. Give me a minute. But like, I don't even want to go to them. You have no media. I don't want to go approach your local paper and be like, hey, talk to this guy. They have no reason to, right? To them, you're just another guy on the street in Saskatoon. So instead, I started pitching it to my writers in Hollywood because he looks Hollywood, to my client, or like not clients, to my associates there, to freelance writers I know there, to editors there. So all of a sudden, and not just in Hollywood, but stateside. So literally, we've been working together probably less than 2 weeks. I've got him. The feature has already come out in Authority magazine, a big feature called 5 Things Anybody Can Do to Have Great Hair, with a big picture of him and 20 questions. And another article has come out about him in Prosperity Press in Los Angeles that I wrote, with the headline from Baghdad to Beverly Hills. Because right before I wrote that article, I got Hollywood Times to write an article about him, just by pitching him and showing him Hollywood Times wrote an article about him, about Danny Toma talks about his success in 2021. So once they did that, I can say from Baghdad, where he was born and educated, to Beverly Hills. And at first he was like, I'm a little worried about the title because, what about our local? Because he's still thinking about getting locals into the shop. And I'm like, dude, you don't think locals are going to get the shop when you put on your website, from Baghdad to Beverly Hills, Hollywood Times, all this stuff, and they're looking at you or the other hairstylist down the street in Saskatoon? Who do you think they're going to pick? That's when you use your advertising budget to boost those link. You post those links on your socials and you boost those links, so a lot of people locally see that. Boom, right? So that's like in less than 2 weeks, he's already been profiled for 4 big articles stateside, and now we're going to do what he was originally talking about, which is reach out on his street in Saskatoon to all the local TV, all the local radio, all that, and they're all going to do profiles on him.
Yeah, I need to introduce you to my sister, Chelsea Smith, who is the owner of Chelsea Smith Cosmetics. She's had TikToks with 500,000 views. She regularly gets 15,000, 20,000 views. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. She's killing it.
She's a celebrity, yeah.
Yeah, she is. She's TikTok famous, and she went from selling makeup, right, which she got herself. I mean, she's working with manufacturers to create this stuff. I mean, she's an entrepreneur in the realist sense. She's got physical office space in El Dorado Hills, which is close to Sacramento, California, and she transitioned to wigs. So she literally designs these things and then does wig shows. And my aunt was there not too long ago, and she did a wig show live. And after the fact, my aunt said, I've never seen anything like it. She said, after the show, we just went over to her computer, and just the thousands of dollars that just poured in, just 10,000, 15,000, 25,000 of sales of these wigs, and just watching these numbers jump up. My aunt is a teacher. She's like looking at like a year's salary of a teacher just pour in. So just absolutely wild. So if you're doing work with hair, I think that would be a good introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. And beauty and stuff. There's all kinds of like hit the ground running. I can get her, like I said, in that 2 weeks, I can do the same thing. And also because she's a woman, I have other opportunities for women, power women. One, I just got all my power women clients across industries on NBC TV, Loma Linda in California. And that's going to be on their on their TV at like 12:30 p.m. or whatever. And then it's going to be on their what do you call it? On demand on their app. And then it's going to be on 2 FM stations and an AM station, just for that interest. So I've got about 8 of my women across, because they're all power women doing something. And this is a show where it's Sheila Mack's show, where she talks about women doing awesome things. It's called, she's famous from a book called Bra Straps and Bootstraps, or something about getting yourself and building your stuff. So anybody that's done that, I can get her on. We built a relationship now that I'm, she's like, wow, you have great people, keep sending them. So I don't, she approves them, but I mean, I'm pitching them, and all my people are great. They all have.
Oh yeah, and Chelsea's spectacular. She's an absolute pro. We're just talking. She's like, I'm trying to do 4 TikToks a day. I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? She is not messing around. So that's really neat. We'll have to make that introduction. And then so the world of PR, I feel like for entrepreneurs has really opened up recently, because you can be a famous anything. there's a scholar. I was talking to someone, Jamie the scholar. She owns a Chicago-based tutoring company, but it's all remote, so it's national. And we went onto TikTok because she's not on TikTok. I said, you got to be on TikTok. And we just looked up a scholar, or looked up the keyword scholar, and we found this guy with 1.7 million followers. And all he does is like SAT prep TikToks and, writing.
And also think about the perfect example. It's funny because I mentioned this on like 3 different podcasts, and 2 of them were hosted by guys. Just you would not expect to know this person's name, and I didn't even remember her name, and we riffed on it before I even finished the sentence, which proved the point. How famous this person is, at a level across, right? And what does she do for? She cleans closets organizes closets for a living. Maria Kondo or whatever, who like she simplicity throwing out stuff that doesn't do or whatever it is. So literally that was her job, is organizing closets for a living. She became a thought leader. She wrote the book. A lot of people write books and just sit on a shelf. She wrote the book. She went into the speaking. She had the PR. And then all of a sudden, she on a global level. She's been on every single TV show because she spun it not from hanging to clean your closet. She spun into like talking about throwing out things that don't speak to you. So she found an angle that resonated. And now she is more famous, for real, than half of the Hollywood stars. She's more famous than 3/4 of the singers. And she cleans closets for a living. So it proves that point when I say, I don't care what it is that you do, there are media opportunities for you.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And we live in a I don't want to say it's post-pandemic because people are still sick and dying. But we live in the world of the internet, and it's anything you want all of the time. Anything and everything all of the time, as Bo Burnham would say in his song he just wrote on his Inside comedy special, which is my new favorite thing. Anyway, yeah, maybe it's cleaning closets. Maybe it's, you have Crohn's disease and you're the most famous person with Crohn's disease. Exactly. I mean, because it's like whatever you're going through, there are people that can find it. It used to be on TV, we're going to tell you what you're interested in. What we think you're interested in, these group of people in Manhattan that have this quirky lifestyle.
So
you know what I mean? That's what we think.
Channels, and that's your choice, right?
Like that, that's what we think you're interested in. And now it's, what? People are really obsessed about having a clean house. So am I. And so, yeah, Marie Kondo's my jam. Maybe it's sports, and so for all of the crap that the internet gets, and it is well deserving of all of it, all of the criticisms it gets, it is a magical tool. Cut someone's internet connection and see how long they can, survive, literally survive. I mean, no access to your bank account. It's just insane. What a lack. It's a public utility as far as I'm concerned, nowadays. So I love that idea of anyone can be famous. How can I be famous? What can I do, Tracy? Make me famous. How do we start?
How would I start? Well, I would start with just this. Even if all I know about you is this podcast. Like I would say, he'd speak obviously to anything to do with marketing, but also on a deeper level to your why. He speaks to entrepreneurs across America and around the world, not just entrepreneurs, but people with fascinating stories around the world. He has this, even on the entrepreneur side, he has his finger on what entrepreneurs, are thinking and doing these days in extreme circumstances. He can share, and then after that, you develop, here are 3 things he could talk about that would make compelling segments, because I always say spoon feed them.
Right.
Like when I don't just say Tracy's an award-winning publicist and send you my bio, because even though my bio is awesome, you'd be like, okay, I don't know what you want me to do with that. You know what I mean? But then I say Tracy can advise on a couple little things I say is, how you can catapult yourself to the top of any industry using earned media and strategically using publicity, or how you build up your self-esteem so that you can build up your brand, make your $1 million or whatever, and then build up your community. So I have a few different things. Or she can speak on how because I do a lot of startups. She can speak on how startups are navigating this era, 2020 and 2021. And what are some interesting things that, what I mean? So anything that if you were on a stage, you could speak on, or if you were writing a book, what would the chapter of the book be? So you think about, what little, some compelling segments of knowledge that you have, like Marie Kondo would have been like, okay, what can I tell media? Well, this is what, what I mean? So think about yourself as what you be saying on breakfast television? What kind of thing might they ask you about your
Breakfast
expertise?
television.
You
Yeah,
know?
no, that is true. And like I did a bunch of podcasts. I had a guest on my show the other day, Elizabeth Pompolone, who just purchased a podcast like acquisition company. It's called Pod Scout, and I'm thinking about pulling the trigger on it. It's relatively inexpensive, and they basically just get you on podcasts. That's what they do. And I had a pretty good run for about 2 years where I was on over 60 of these podcasts. But my issue with that is that their viewership is 2 people. You know what I mean? 10 people, 15 people.
Getting you on tiny ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just sort of like what really am I doing? And it's
I mean, there are some. I've been on some that have like 300,000 downloads. You know
oh
what I mean?
no, trust me. No,
Those are
I'm
like,
not. No, I am not
yeah.
saying that's
Some of
all of
those are
them.
better
No,
than
no, of
NBC.
course,
You know, like you'll see
of
better.
course. Yeah, I'm just saying my
But yeah, I hear what
experience
you're saying. If
was
they're different, they're definitely
yeah.
different.
So like I'm over the moment in my life where I'm like, you know what, I really need to refine my message and get better at this. It's like, no, I've been doing this long enough that I know
Got
I
it.
can go onto a show and it's fine. Like I know what I'm going to say. I'm very comfortable in front of. I mean, it's a live. The reason this is a live show is because I actually prefer this. Like I don't want it to be edited. I'm cool with whatever we say and do
Me
being
too.
what
Me
people.
too. I don't
Yeah.
have a. Whenever I'm doing a show and there are people are like always doing all these big pre-calls and they're like, "Do you have any questions? Do you want to know what I'm going to add?" I'm like, "Ah, just hit me." They're like, "Is there anything you don't want to talk about?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I'm hoping you're not going to get like crude. It's not going to be like weird, is it?" But other than that,
Yeah.
I
It's
don't I don't mind even crude. I don't mind if you swear, but I mean, it's not going to be like
no.
bizarre
I know.
questions
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, exactly. I
As
mean, I
long as it's
had
in the realm of normal conversation, we're good.
I had one horrifying podcast experience, but that's it. And
No.
I should know better. But this was like it was right after Trump got elected, I want to say. And I logged into the podcast, and it was already weird by the time I got in there. And it was 4 dudes, I want to say, and they were all drunk or high or something. And all they did was made fun of me from the get-go. Like that was the entire point of the show, was just to like, and then they
Is it a
literally
bro
called it,
show?
dude, it was so bad. And they called it like Suicide King is what they called me, because their thing was just like, how would you kill yourself if you kill yourself? And like the fact that I just didn't log out is 100% on me, because I'm in the environment. I know better. Literally, my kids are in the other room, and I'm trying to, I
You
just
thinking
for
of these
something.
guys for real?
Yeah, like I learned my lesson though. Like I am willing to get up and leave. I don't care who it is or whatever. You know what I mean? Like if it's that sort of level of
Yeah.
just total disrespect. So I'm glad I learned that on some sort of garbage podcast that's like floating around in the
Yeah,
ether
I've seen
somewhere.
there are some crappy things out there, and I've luckily never been on one, but I looked at, I'm careful when I read some of the things, and then I go look because, yeah, like some of the, if it's just like me and my friends sit around talking about whatever, I'm like, yeah, nah, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, 99% of them are spectacular, great hosts. Maybe they're a little new, maybe they're a little, they need some experience, that sort of thing, or they can't come up with good questions, or the conversation isn't great. But I can carry a podcast for an hour myself, even if the person's like, "Oh, really?" I was on a podcast once with this lady who literally said interesting no matter what I said every single time. That was
oh
it.
my
Like I was
God.
like, thanks. She's like, interesting, and
Dude,
then nothing.
I
I
was
was like,
on, I
how?
shouldn't say, I was on a network show in another country. It wasn't in America. It was this network, like it looks like CNN, and they have like television studios. They're like
Yeah.
for real, right? And it was not in North America, but I mean, it was English speaking, and it should have been really good. And I've been on their network a few times, so it was fine other times. But this one host I had, and my client had her as well, like this ditzy. I don't even want to say. Oh my God, like it's like she's asking these questions, and then it's like she wasn't even processing and she hired her, but also my other client, totally different topic about like a hair product, and then me like not difficult things, right? And she's just like. It's just yeah, interesting. Yeah, yeah, and you can just tell it's like, why did they have this person on television? And it's like real TV. I'm like the worst interview. Like, I mean, when the people you're interviewing are like feel uncomfortable after it, and you're someone like me, I'm like, I don't feel uncomfortable in interviews. You know what I mean? I was
Right.
I was just like, but when you're like, okay, you know, that's like that. You're not a good interviewer.
It's
It's
so
not hard
bad.
to ask like
There's,
four basic questions,
dude, it's
like
so
four
not.
basic questions, not even
And
like deep
and
questions.
how are you not having fun? That's my thing. Is, if
Yeah,
your guest is engaging at all, if they have a personality at all, it's not that hard to enjoy the time you
yeah,
have
like
spending with
talk,
this person.
like
Yeah,
3 minutes. And that's
very
like it
weird.
was literally an 8-minute interview with four questions. You're just like, they're asking a question. I'm answering them like in ways that are like, like I always do. And it's just like, la. It's like,
Yeah.
hi,
Well,
can you pay
yeah,
attention?
I don't fully understand. So, all right. So new clients, that's cool. We got the Jimmy Dennis backstory. I love that. Is everything just warm referrals for you nowadays? Is that where you're getting all your business?
Well, traditionally, like for the last several years, about 80% of my business has been repeat business or referrals. Yeah.
Right.
And then, whenever I needed a project, like right now, if I was like, oh, geez, nothing, I'd like some new fresh thing right now. Then, because I always like to have a lot going on my plate, because it's stuff incoming, stuff that's staying, stuff that's finishing. So I like to always have,
Oh yeah.
So traditionally, I've looked over the last few years, mostly just in LinkedIn, because I have like 18,000 strong in my LinkedIn, hugely strong on creatives, on executives, of founders of companies, all kinds of stuff. Go in there and be like, hey, and I really, because I never anybody when they send me a message about the services on LinkedIn, but I do it in a real like generic way. I don't. I mean a real way. Like I research what the person actually done. If there is a need, if it looks like there is something I can bring to see what media they have. If they don't have any media, but then I'm like, hey, clearly you're not doing the media. Well, this is what I do. It's really affordable. And I have a really good rate of, people being like, actually, yeah, man, I'm really super glad you reached out to me. That's awesome. Thank you. Right. And I end up
Hmm.
picking up some clients that way. But recently it's funny because 10 years ago when I started freelancing, I was freelancing on called Upwork, which is, sorry, Elan, which is now called Upwork. And then I hadn't touched that for like 8 years because I'm like all my leads it's all warm leads. I have business coming right when I think I need somebody refers me, something comes in, then I'm too busy. So I haven't really been needing to go in and do that. So I'd literally not been there for 8 years. And then somebody told me, oh, I saw your profile on Upwork. And I was like, that's not good. I got to go fix that because that would literally be like 9 years ago when I was a freelancer. Before
Yeah.
the whatever money I was asking then it certainly wouldn't be what I'm asking now.
Ah.
Right, the free, the anyway, like it was all like wrong. I didn't have all my awards. I didn't have all my TV. I didn't have my two huge differences. And I thought, oh, I better go in and correct that. But then when I went in, I realized, man, apparently now it looks like they now have like 30% of the Fortune 500 companies or whatever that hire exclusively on Upwork. And I remembered that I actually got some of my first clients on there that I still have with me today. Like the one who ended up publishing my book, Lou Bayer, she ended up in our 10 years together. She ended up becoming a publisher as well as what she was originally doing and starting to publish in soft skills, 18 different books. And then she said to me, "You've made these books bestsellers. Can you please write the book on PR?" So I met her on Upwork. I met Angela Sadler Williamson, who I probably talked about on my first show with you, who was one of my first clients, who's the Rosa Parks' cousin on
Mm.
Upwork. She hired me. So when
Wow.
I went back to correct my thing, I just, I'm curious in the research. I started looking at some of the jobs that were there. I raised my rate. I put my rate higher, way higher. Still less than I do in the real world, for like,
Yeah.
because it's these short term like projects more about meeting people and, finding out. So yeah, I ended up going in there now. So now I get about 10% of my projects on Upwork, and I've actually found a couple of really interesting things there. Because now that I up my profile there, I don't go in there and prospect. I don't have time for that. But 5 times a week now, I've been getting like, hey, would you be interested in coming and bidding on my job? And then I go and look, and so now I've got two new clients. And actually, I should mention two new clients in Australia. One of them is each is right my alley on the entertainment side. One of them is called Bubblegum Casting, which is the fifth children's and teen agency for film, movies, and commercials and stuff, and Hunter Talent, which is um, less storied, but so talent management and casting. And I just literally signed them on
Okay.
yesterday to start with them. So yeah, so I thought, oh, there's an
Nice.
opportunity there too. Maybe I'll go. And then when I started researching, apparently a whole bunch of companies So in the 8 years, I have not bothered where there've been a lot of people on there where, so it's like grown, and I guess actually makes sense during COVID,
So
especially it's grown.
yeah, totally. So it makes me want to. You know what I want? I'm going to put it out into the universe. I want fractional CMO, and I want to start developing partnerships where I get percentages of companies to go in and help market. Like I want to get in on some assets. So I'm just putting that out into the universe. If you own a company,
Do it. Yeah, I literally
and
yesterday
you
was
are,
offered stock.
yep, exactly. And you're interested in someone with marketing background, 15 years, wrote a book, spoken at a ton of universities, all that stuff.
This guy.
I want in. Yeah, I want in on the ground floor, as they say. Fractional CMO is something I recently heard from a guest where, it's like you're not going to pay $220,000 for a chief marketing officer, but you might pay 15,000 a year for someone to come in, sit on the board, guide the marketing for the whole company. And I want those roles. I'm interested in those. We are running out of time. Just want to let everyone know we're going to give Tracy the last word, obviously. But you all know the drill. 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Live show, youtube.com/Send It Rising. Why is it /Send It Rising and not /marketing as a foreign language? Just because Send It Rising is the name of the marketing agency that I happen to own. SEO, pay-per-click, WordPress websites, LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, graphic design, everything you could possibly want from a marketing agency and more. We have a great partnership with Tracy Lamourie's company. If you want PR, it's a partnership we just established because I just said so. And iTunes and Spotify after the fact. Shout out, of course, to Tracy. What an incredible guest. What incredible stories. Couldn't be happier for her for all of the incredible things that are happening to her now. That's just karma, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give Tracy the last word.
Yeah. So everybody, I might have ended this way on the last one, but I love to end this way because I think it's a hard time for a lot of people, and we're talking about successes and awesome things and all this great stuff. And so I always want to end with two things. Jimmy Dennis always said, "Never, never give up." That's literally. It might sound trite and small, but it got up to 25 years being kicked in the worst way possible on death row with 2 execution dates. The world's ready to kill you, and he got through it. And then even when he gets down, because the world can suck, I say something that I found on the interwebs, which is just a little meme, but I thought it was great, which is, we didn't get this far to only get this far. So when I say to him, I mean, you already did the hard part. You got open that door that nobody thought would have got open. The Grammy part is easy. People do that all the time. You can get a Grammy. So that's what I mean when I say to him. When I say to me, I mean there's more goals to crush. When I say to successful people who think they're doing well, keep on going. But really, 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 it's most important for the people who think that they're not so successful, who feel like losers right now, who feel like things, suck and they're not going anywhere. Realize that you absolutely are a winner because you're listening to this right now. You're awake, you're alive, you're still here, you made it through. And this isn't any false positivity. It's true because the world can be an asshole. People in it can be assholes. They can try to drag you down. But you made it to all this, through all that. So you didn't get this far to only get this far. You got places to go, things to do, people to see. So keep going and don't, jump off a bridge or anything. Going.
Amen. And watch the Bo Burnham Inside Netflix if you want enlightenment. He literally looks like Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for swinging by the show today. We'll see you next.